TV. Baby, I left my ring in the sink when I was about to mess with that chicken. Can you get it up for me? Thank you. Oh, wow. Welcome to the live. All right, y'all. Happy New Year. I was muting trying to get Josiah to go and downstairs so he can take his bath. But my husband will be joining in a moment. We are in the middle of cooking dinner, but are coming tonight with Real Talk Live. If you've been on my channel for a while, you might remember when me and my husband would come on here and we would talk about all things relationships. We get on here arguing with each other because we always have our talks or whatever. But tonight, we're going to be talking about relationships and just checking in. I owe y'all some content, I know, but I have been posting frequently. So make sure you're checking my community tab and my shorts feed so that you're not missing any videos. Two videos in particular this week have been getting comments. And so that is the inspiration behind tonight's topic. So the first topic is going to be around dating women with children or dating people with kids. Let's keep it, open to all, right? And then the second conversation is going to be DNA testing. If you see my community tab, you probably saw me screenshotting comments from recent activity on my channel. And I wanted to come at y'all today so we can talk about it on live. That way it's a dialogue and it's not just me responding to comments. Also, my husband shares a similar perspective. Hey Lisa, how you doing? Happy New Year. My husband shares a similar perspective to the guys that have been commenting recently. So I thought it would be interesting for y'all to be able to hear his perspective about these different topics too. With that said, I just want to say thank y'all for the engagement. I'm all for folks sharing what they think. The main thing I always remind people is that it is okay to disagree. You are not going to convince a stranger on the internet to see it your way if they are stuck in what they believe. But just be respectful. Don't be, cursing nobody out or whatever. Nobody's been doing that, by the way. But I'm just saying because, sometimes with the live, YouTube pushes it out to people who are not familiar with YouTube and what to do. And with that, I'm gonna kick it off in just a second. We'll start with like the what's good. I know on Wednesdays when I go live, I usually ask everybody like what's something that they're grateful for. Um, I have a few gratefuls this week, but I'll say my main grateful is definitely just um, being able to gain some clarity around options to go to church in the area because as I shared on my New Year's video, I am trying to strengthen that relationship this year and get back involved with like-minded individuals. But at the same time, I want to make sure that it's a good fit for my full family. So, with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Dez while I go grab something out the kitchen.
What's up, y'all? Um,
What you grateful for?
I went to a wrestling pay per view last night. Had a great time, wonderful experience. So I'm grateful that I had a chance to go and do something that I normally don't get a chance to do. So I'm grateful for that.
I'm also going to get this TV on because we're not paying. This live is not sponsored by guys dining and dive or whatever that was. Okay, I'm back. All right, so Let me know which topic y'all want to do first. The first topic was can you see? Okay. The first topic was either to talk about dating women with kids or DNA testing and whether um it's well, what is the topic? Like the video that I did about DNA testing was about a girl who was in a relationship who baby daddy ended up asking for a DNA test. And so she was like, well, what should she do? And so the whole video kind of talked about, should you give the DNA test? What might happen to the relationship? Um, you know, Topics have come up like should DNA testing be mandatory, things like that. So we could talk about that. The dating women with kids, I was doing, hey Richard, how you doing? I was doing a video about like for a woman who has had a baby that and it did not work out with the biological father and giving advice around what to do in that situation, basically how to heal, how to move forward, and encouraging that person to know that they are still worthy of finding love again in the future. And a guy had commented on the video and was like, why would a man want to date someone with kids? Why would a man want to date a woman with kids? And so I had responded on my comment section and then I put it on the community tab. I also shared it on my Instagram. And a lot of the folks who were responding was saying things like, I really wish that people would stop devaluing women specifically, but men too. But we're talking about women here since that was the comment. Just because they had a kid. Um, like to me, having a child before you get married and it not working out does not mean that you're less than somebody else. Also, single mothers and single fathers exist after marriage. Like you could get a divorce and have kids and be a single parent. You could have been in a domestic violence situation and left that situation. You never know why someone ended up a single parent, right? So it's really bad to assume that everybody is the same and put everybody in the same category. Now, I do think that it's okay to have preferences, but it's literally people that feel like women with kids are less than women without kids. And then I don't really hear a lot of folks say the same thing when it comes to guys. Not to say you think they do.
Of course they do.
So baby daddies.
If you are a single father and you're not a good father, women will run you into the dirt without knowing. It's very, it's a very common thing because again, it's easy to pile on a dad. It's easier to get away with piling on a single father versus trying to pile on a single mother and hold them accountable. So yeah, you hear plenty about that's okay. Look at Nick Cannon, perfect example. Nobody said he's an absent father. Nobody said he can't be good, but women are dogging him for having 12 kids. He has the money to take care of them. Yeah, he can't be
I
in
was gonna
12
say they
places at
have they
once.
have been saying that he's been struggling to be present for his
They're saying, yeah,
kids
he has
because he
12 of them. But the thing is, how often do you hear them kids go needy? But also, how much was Nick Cannon working to build his empire? He was always on somebody's TV show, always on a podcast, always on something. He was the working man everybody wanted. Now he's decided he don't want to be married again. He just wants to have kids. His whole thing was he wanted to have a bunch of kids, which was something that was not unusual until maybe about 20, 30 years ago.
Mm.
So he's not doing something in the black community that hadn't been done before.
I mean, Nick Cannon is a different situation in my opinion.
Different situation, but my only thing, what I'm saying is, it's not like he's broke and he can't do nothing, but he was still getting piled on because women were giving their opinion because you feel like if he's gonna have that many kids, he should be with one woman.
Yeah,
So a
I
lot
saw a
of
lot of that
people were
too.
throwing their
But I
opinions
also saw
out.
people excusing the behavior because he has enough money to provide for the kids.
Yeah, I
A
mean
lot
that
of
that
folks were
happened.
saying, well, he's rich, he can do that. We're not talking about rich people. We talking about people who are like normal having all these kids and you don't have the money nor the time to be there with all the kids. That was the argument I kept
Well, I mean
seeing.
that's yeah, that's a different.
Until recently, I think Mariah came out because that's his ex-wife, and they had
Yeah,
twins, saying that he doesn't spend time with her kids, with their kids. So, I mean, What I'm saying is like people who tune into folks like Kevin Samuels, may he rest in peace, whatever, or like people that are in that niche, right? They will say a woman who's had kids is less of value. I don't hear these
Lady,
same
no, 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 no,
guys
no. I don't.
saying that about
I'm not a
guys who've had
defender of either.
kids. I
What I've
agree.
heard these guys say is that understand what you're bringing to the table and understand what you're requiring of the guy you want to date. It's not that you lower your value. If you're asking for a guy that you're dating to not
You
only
want me to get a
accept
table?
you but accept your kids, you're asking him to take on a lot versus what you're having to accept. And I think,
She's still typing. Let her finish typing.
and I mean, I feel like, I feel like even with that, guys who don't make, I feel like the thing is with guys like Kevin Samuels and Andrew Tate, they say things that have now become described as misogynistic, but
I've been hearing that
they're
word a
not
lot.
always misogynistic. They're factual. If a guy was broke, they would tell people, and folks say it all the time, date within your means of your financial stuff. That's all he's basically saying to them. Date within what you bring to the table because you're asking somebody to carry more baggage than you may be willing to carry for them or have to. Because if all he brings is himself, that's just him. But if you're saying you're dating and now you're bringing two kids, an ex-husband, and that's a lot.
They can't see you. Go ahead.
And then what you're asking to do is not only be a parent, but be a step parent, carry that responsibility as a good one, even if you have experience or not. But also 9 times out of 10, that dad is eventually going to be not held responsible, and not the
Okay.
rest of that weight falls on him. And now he's like, well, wow, I went from being looking to date you to now taking care of your kids, and even in taking care of your kids, yes, that's something I'm willing to do, but it's a lot heavier weight than you realize.
That's fair.
So I think even in stuff like that, like I'm not saying they're right. What I'm saying is you do have to be mindful of when you're asking people to do these things. Could you do the same thing if the shoe was on the other foot? Would you even be willing to?
And some women would. There's
And
plenty of women who date men who have kids.
right, and I'm not
And
saying
I
they
don't
don't.
really be hearing, I guess like Lisa's saying here in the comments, you don't really hear like, well, in some instances, some women do bash men that date kids. I have seen like single girls that don't have kids saying, I don't want to date no man with kids because there's baby mama drama. I don't want to deal with that. And I've heard men say the same thing.
Right.
But the thing is, I see, at least in the circles I run in, more men that, I went to school with or something, that will basically say they don't want to get in a serious relationship with a woman that has kids,
Yeah.
but will date that girl, but will be friends with benefits with that girl, but will still sleep with that girl. But you don't want to pursue a serious relationship.
Same thing
Oh,
I told you
oh,
earlier
but a
today when we were
girl,
talking.
most girls I know who they don't know what you said. You gotta say it for
I
them.
know, I know.
But the girls who are basically like saying that, the ones I know that they just, if they find out they have kids, they won't even try to join a relationship if that's what their standard is. And the thing is, neither is of less value. You just have to find the person that works for you. But it's like wrong to say that a woman lost her value just because she has kids. You can say she has
It's
more baggage because she has
it
kids,
is
but
hey,
baggage comes in different shapes and forms. So that's why I'm just like, I don't think
baggage
when
comes in
when
shapes.
people say like, why would a man want to date? Why would a man want to date a woman with
Well,
kids?
think
Why would a
about it.
woman want to date a man with kids?
Not the same thing. Think about the way child support works.
Hold on. I think it's okay to date women with kids. They're already potty trained. That's a bonus to me. LOL. That's
Um,
funny.
I really think you have to think about it like this. We were talking about the idea of what
And
it.
hold on, for y'all who don't know, so this is my husband Des, and Des and I are married. So we're not talking about us, but we're just talking about based on like the comments and stuff. I'm a mom. I have my own child that was here before I met Des, and Des was the father that stepped up. So he has experience in what he's talking about. But I'm just saying, in general, I don't understand like when people come in and say things like, "Why would you date a woman who have kids?" I was still
Because
a good
from
woman.
it's not about you not being a good woman. The idea is that why would you take on a responsibility that can definitely alter not only what your responsibilities are, but the way people perceive you based on what they believe a good father slash stepfather should be, even if they've never been in a situation and don't have experience. Why would you put yourself in that situation? Because people are not, like I told you earlier, everybody's not going to care that you stepped up. After a while, it's like the honeymoon phase that wears off. And now they want to see what else you continue to bring to the table. And if you don't continue to hit their standards, now they start to open their mouth and feel like their opinions are worthy enough to be spread amongst the circles you run in. And truth be told, for folks who've never been in that situation, your opinion is not really worth all that much
Okay.
because you have zero experience. You're talking from a situation that you would probably never want to put yourself in, but you have no problem commenting on it and probably commenting on it without actually going to both sides to figure out what the truth is before you pick a side to stand on. But that's not how that works 9 times out of 10. Once dad falls out of good graces of those who feels like their opinions matter, he becomes whatever that adjective is before his name, and it starts to stick. And not only does it stick, it starts to be said in front of kids, and then that's what starts to stick. So
Mm.
you put yourself in a hole because no matter how bad of a mom you have, everybody will turn around and say that's your mama. No matter how good of a dad you have, if you say enough bad stuff about him, they will find a way to make him sound bad in front of you, even if you know that's not the true story. So, as a
Well,
single
no,
guy, why would you put yourself in that predicament?
okay, that
If you're saying the individual experience, okay, but I'm saying in general, 9 times out of 10,
I was gonna say, because sometimes people have that standard period for parents. That's your dad. Forgive your dad. That's your
some,
mom. Some people hold parents at the same level, but
a
you're
lot
right.
of
I
a
have
lot of people
heard
don't.
more people bashing dads than they do moms, especially when you think about Father's Day and Mother's Day.
Yep.
And then, like, as a stepfather, sometimes y'all don't even really get that recognition on Father's Day because it's like the focus is on the
Well,
dad or the
what you
father,
hear is
whatever.
that you accepted that role, so you understood what came with that territory.
Yeah,
folks don't folks don't think, oh well, yeah, that's great. But as guys, when you start to talk as a guy about stuff that is bothersome, if you're brought up around women who don't know how to properly acknowledge the
I'm
emotions
gonna
and the
try to
comments
get
of a
this table.
man,
Hold on.
you start to run into a problem.
Where is the black one? Oh, thank you. Because the laptop and the chicken is gonna beep to be flipped. Do you want me to flip it,
You
or
can flip. I'll flip it. It's
I'll
fine.
talk to them while you do that?
Yeah.
Is this table? Yes. Sorry. Is it too high?
Nah, I think that should be
That's
hard.
good. Okay. Hey Queen C, how you doing? Oh, this is so much better, y'all. We was holding in our lap. That angle was all messed up. I needed a better angle. Okay. I love you too, Josiah. Okay, let me read. Hey Queen C. So tonight we talking relationships. And my husband is here. He is flipping over some chicken because we're in the middle of cooking dinner. But the topic was dating women with kids. I received a comment on a video a few days ago, and the question was, well, why would a man want to date a woman that already has kids? So we were talking about, how sometimes society devalues people who've had children before they got married, or devalues women and men. As well as my husband was talking about the perspective of the answer of why you wouldn't want to step into that role, but also how the men are often overlooked for taking that role, or not overlooked, that's not the correct word, but they're often unrecognized for that commitment. After a while, it's just kind of like, well, you knew what territory you were getting in. So that we're talking about that. And then later, we're going to dive into my other topic, which is around DNA testing. And this was in response to another video that was around Real Talk, talking about if a woman is dating a guy, serious relationship, and gets pregnant, and the baby daddy says, I want a DNA test. And so I elaborated on that in the video. It's been a lot of comments. So we're doing Real Talk tonight. But feel free to, drop your comments. Also, if you want to talk about other topics, drop those in the comment section as well. Real Talk is back. So we're going to be doing like relationship talk, life updates, just responding to stuff that's going on in the world, as well as topics around women and men. And when my husband is here, he'll be here to give y'all the male perspective. And I'm hoping that some of these guys that were talking in my comments earlier will pop in as well to give their perspectives, because after this, I'm done going back and forth about the topic. Let me see. Very true. So sad that some of my friends have such a hard time and they're doing so well in life. Men to me can have kids and they don't necessarily have that issue. I think the label baggage is usually given to women. I agree with that, especially because in most situations, please don't come sit over here. You're not a part of the live today, Josiah. You want to show them that you have glasses, don't you? It's not for kids. Sorry, Josiah's in here. He got new glasses today. I thought he was trying to show y'all his glasses. I was going to let him come say hi.
I can show them if you want.
Come on and say hi and then go away.
Hi.
All right, goodbye. Go play in your room.
No.
Okay, so he made me forget what I was saying. I'm sorry, y'all. I was saying something about women. Des, what was I saying before Josiah interrupted me? Lisa says, hey, your glasses are cute.
Thank you.
But basically, y'all, I feel like sometimes women get the short end of the stick. And I know we look just like each other now with the glasses. Like, I couldn't deny the baby if I wanted to. But anyway, I was saying how sometimes women get the shorter end of the stick because in most situations, and I say most, I know there's deadbeat moms that exist, but in most situations, the mother is the custodial parent, which means that the child lives with them. And so when the woman is trying to move forward and date new people, it's challenging because she always has to plan around that child. Whereas the man in the situation is often not the custodial parent. So because he is not the custodial parent, he can move on like a single man in most ways, other than the fact that he still has that commitment if he's an active parent. And if he's not an active parent, he gets to move on as he was prior to becoming a father. In fact, some men that are not going to disclose their personal matters to the women they date may not even share that they have kids at all. So they're just dating and they appear to be like a single man. They don't have like a space where their child stays and can live with them part-time or whenever the arrangement that the co-parenting situation has established. So it is a different level of baggage. It is easier if that man has money and he can afford his kids and to pay financially and pop in and out as it is convenient for him, to date a woman who doesn't have kids but is willing to take that on because it really doesn't affect their relationship. But being with a woman who takes care of her kids full time and trying to date that man gets to see more of the inconvenience. And I don't mean it in a negative way. I just mean that baggage is more present. And even though we like to still recognize that woman may bring a lot to the table, as Lisa mentioned, her friend is successful. She probably makes great money. She's resourceful. She's gotten herself together. She's healed. She's ready to be, someone's serious partner, right? Some people are not willing to give that chance because it is hard. I will say this, even me, before becoming a mother, I was not interested in dating people who had kids. I didn't have kids. I'm young. I'm selfish. I don't want to have to share my time with other people that are optional, and I know that sounds horrible. That sounds like, what? But that is how a lot of people who don't have kids think. And then as you get older and you see what life brings you through, you get to understand like that you may view that differently. After becoming a mom, I was more open to dating someone who had a child. After becoming a mom, I was more understanding about life bringing you through things because life brought me through things. So I wasn't as, you know, I don't know what the word is. I wasn't as judgmental based on the surface level because, if I'm going to be judgmental, then that's what is going to happen to me when I'm wanting that same love. So you just have to find what works for you. It is not for everybody, which is what I said. There's nothing wrong with having your preferences, but you shouldn't talk down on other people just because their lifestyle is not your preference. You don't have to date women with kids. A lot of women with kids will say they prefer to only date men with kids because if, let's say, they already have 2 or 3 children and they're done. I've already been pregnant 3 times. I don't want to date a man without kids because there's an opportunity that he hasn't had, which is to have his own biological child. And he might feel like that's a deal breaker because he still wants his own child, even though he's willing to be a step parent to your children. He wants his own child. So I've heard people say that. I've heard people say, I don't want my own kids, but I don't mind being a step parent. Because at the end of the day, being a step parent, although many that step into that role, even if they don't work out with their spouse, they'll still be a parent because you love the child when you're taking that role. But many can walk away from that whole situation should it not work out. And that's the difference. When you are biologically parents, you are not likely going to walk away in that manner and just say, I'm done. I mean, it happens, but let's just say best case scenario, biological mom and dad are not going to say, okay, well, this relationship didn't work out, so I'm done. But when you are step parent or boyfriend, girlfriend with dating the mom or dad with kids, then, sometimes when the relationship ends, that partnership ends. And so that's another thing, you're dealing with double heartbreak because you fell in love with the person and then you also fell in love with their kids. And now you don't want nothing to do with the person, but you don't also want to let down a child that you've been involved with for years and stuff like that. So it's a lot to think about. It's definitely hard. And with that, I'm gonna let y'all type a little bit and see what other people are saying. Let's see. You were talking about the baggage label women, which yes, thank you. I figured that out too. All right. You were saying something before you went and put the food in, or good? Because I'm about to move to the DNA topic.
No, I mean that's just being a step parent at times can be a thankless job. So it's not for the weak. And that's probably why you hear a lot of guys give their honest opinion on why they wouldn't or why they believe guys should be cautious in doing so. It's not for the weak. And it can be, you can make it look easy by doing it, but it's not always as easy as you make it look. So when you look at it like that, no, you got to be honest, especially as guys. Like, I don't think a lot of women realize how much guys talk to other guys and how much women know and how much they're going through similar things. And the women, even though they don't know each other, are doing the same stuff, saying similar stuff, and how much more of a weight that is to carry too.
Hmm. So like how we go to the beauty salon, you mean like barbershop talk, and it comes up and it's
I mean,
like
it's
it's
not just
similar stuff,
barbershop talk. It might
or
be gym
amongst your
talk, or
friends.
it might be not just amongst my friends, but definitely amongst older guys that I've met and that I know. Like I've met guys in their 50s, 60s, 70s who still talk about similar topics. Guys who are my age, um, who may talk about it, not as many, but you get to hear the genuine honesty that they may not give women because women may not be as receptive. Because I remember one specific example. I got into it with this chick on Twitter about how guys feel about this same topic. And she told me when stepdads take over, they understand that they're taking over the role for the dad who left. So it shouldn't be as big of an issue for him to not contribute. And I told her she was a liar.
and that you're completely jaded if you believe a guy's okay with you not holding the guy accountable that you had a kid with just because he's with you.
Well, some people have said that. Like, look at Russell Wilson and Future
Yeah.
and
Russell Wilson
Sierra.
is like taking the Nick Cannon thing, in my opinion. Russell Wilson is worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. He's got generational money.
You're
for the next,
you're correct
next
about
couple of
that, but I
years.
know, like, in some cultures in the African American community, like African men, for example, their pride and that whole security
Yeah.
thing. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
some men will literally say, like, if I want that woman, I'm not worried about it. Some men literally do say that though.
I get it, and I understand that.
But
I'm not
I
saying
do
that they
agree, like,
don't
when you
do
think
that.
about like common people, let's just say
No.
middle class and under,
Look,
perhaps
I'm not saying that
that
what you
that
just said
person
is
would be more prone to say,
no.
I want his help.
I don't think you're understanding me. I'm not saying that the guy that you're saying in their cultural deal, it may be, well, I'll take that. What I'm saying is, yes, that guy will take that weight and he will carry it. But because she's no longer holding the child's father accountable, he's now carrying more weight that he should have to. And most women will turn around and justify that by saying, well, when you took the weight, you knew there's a chance he may not help. Why should I have to go after him for help? You should go after him for help because that's who you laid down and had a kid with. And this is still his responsibility as well. He does not get off the hook just because I start to date you or marry you. That's not how that works. But a lot of women, in order to sever that tie completely, will let him off the hook and not see how that is a problem.
Okay, but in that's in some cases. That's in our case.
That's in
But
more cases
in
than
some
guys will
cases
make
where you have
known.
an active biological father too, that's not the case.
Yeah, when you have an active biological father.
So you gotta point that out. Unfortunately, that's not been the case for me.
I'm saying,
but with people who do have an active,
even with active biological fathers, there are times where he will still carry less weight, even if he doesn't want to, because that severs that emotional tie. Do you understand what I'm saying?
What do you mean by that? The severs that emotional tie. If you have that active father,
if I don't have to deal with somebody I've been out of a relationship with, and if you haven't properly, let's go back to this. If you haven't properly gotten over how to end a relationship before you hop into a new one, that creates a bigger issue than most people know.
Yeah, but we weren't talking about that.
Well, no, just hear me out. What I'm saying is, if there's still feelings there, even if it's not love or lust, even if you still y'all are not on the same page, you can't be cordial. There's always some kind of verbal dig y'all are taking at each other. But the truth be told, y'all did not squash this. Y'all still got beef, but instead of dealing with it, y'all broke up, and now y'all just take jabs at each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's more of an issue. That's more of a weight, because now why I gotta come home and hear you talk about something else.
You okay?
Well, the wings are not done yet, so you gotta wait. What I'm saying is that becomes
They're making noises.
now that becomes a weight of now I gotta hear about how he ain't doing this. It becomes a weight. When he don't come through, now it falls more on me because, well, he ain't this, but I chose you to be this, so you should be better. Not because that's your responsibility, but when he fell through, I'm looking at you because I chose you to fill that role. And I should be able to depend on you even when he falls through, even if I can't hold him responsible because I don't have to speak to him and he don't have to answer my calls. I can do that to you. So now you're stepping into that role.
But if you weren't, and the kids weren't in place, if something was falling short, she would still be looking to you, just like you would look to her as the wife to do certain things, right?
Not in the same way.
Not in the same way,
because if either way, it's going to be, when people look at it, the first thing it becomes is a check to your manhood. As a man, people feel like you're falling short. They don't care about your circumstance. They don't care about the situation. They care about the fact that you accepted this and you're not fulfilling your duty as they see fit. And if she's bad mouthing you, they're gonna turn around and take a chance to bad mouth you too because they're on the same page.
Josiah, get that blue pillow if you're gonna lay down. Don't lay on the couch pillow.
So that's what I mean. Like it's not the same deal. And yeah, like carrying the weight as a stepfather, like it's not, you get to step into a role of something that truthfully at times you may not even be able to take
Put them back on the fireplace.
Great credit of. Like,
keep talking, I'm listening. I'm trying to see
it becomes a lot more than what other people are willing to understand because they're not worried about the necessary circumstance or the situation. They're just worried about what they believe should be done. So it makes a difference. Yeah, it's like a ripple effect. And that's one of those things where it's just like at times it's just expected to be picked up and taken. It's not like you're supposed to ask questions or do anything else. That's just the assumed nature of how things are supposed to go. So it can create a problem. But if the partner with kids doesn't see that as a problem, but they agree with everybody else, then that creates another issue.
Okay. So on a positive note, why would you date a woman with kids?
I would really have to love her and then learn how to love her kids. Is the initial thing is not the fact that she has a kid. That to me, that's not the initial attraction. There still has to be some kind of idea of person to person as adult. The kid is, like I said, a bonus. So if you can make that work, but sometimes dating a woman with a kid can be a deal breaker. You could have great chemistry, but because the kid would rather see their parents together, they can throw a monkey wrench in everything, and it becomes annoying, and it's just like it's not worth it. Excuse me.
Okay.
So I mean, yeah, like dating a woman with kids is like you're dating her. The fact that she has a kid can be a plus, but that's also something you have to take into account. Do you want to step in that role and it not work out, and then you don't know what's said about you because it's not like you're there to defend yourself in that conversation when you're gone. So again, it can create an issue.
Okay. So do you want to move on to the DNA test
Yeah, we can
conversation?
move on to that one.
All right, y'all. So leave your comments in the chat. When you date a woman with a kid, when is she introducing the man to the kid? After 30 days?
I don't know. She has to feel. I think that's a question of comfort. How comfortable you feel introducing people to your kids. I
Yes,
don't
some
think.
people wait like a longer time,
I,
but I think it's better to do it. I just cut you off. Go
I
ahead.
don't.
I'm
I don't think
sorry.
it's that you have to initially meet the kid early on, but I do need to have an idea of like what do you do with your kid? How is your kid? Is this what's really going on before I step into this role? 'Cause there's something I can't fix. I may not want to be a part of this because now you're again putting me in a role that kid's dad might not even be in, and that kid don't know me from Adam. So why would you expect me to be able to just go right in and fix that problem? I think, I mean, you could wait 3 months or 6 months or 6 years. It don't matter if it's not something that's a good fit. It's just not gonna work.
Honestly, I would say it depends on the situation, but think if you know that you are feeling like as a woman, you really feel like it's going in a serious direction. And I mean, like beyond like physical chemistry, but you see something that could turn into something serious, you should go ahead and make the introduction because you don't want to get deeper into a emotional connection with somebody just to find out that your kid hates them or he hates your kid. So the sooner the better, in my opinion. However, if you know that you're not really ready for something serious right away, and you out of your relationship, you divorced or whatever, recently broke up, or maybe you waited a year or however long, 3 months, 6 months, 90 days, that's all the same. I'm saying the same thing. But um you would know when you're ready to get out there and you know what you're looking for. You date with intention, whether you're trying to hook up or whether you're trying to find something serious. And if you're trying to find something serious, in my opinion, when you're vetting that person to see how you feel about them, you'll know when it's serious. The vibe is different when it's friends with benefits type of situation versus when you really are building an emotional connection, a friendship. The conversations are more genuine, more deep. Y'all are being consistent in conversation with each other, and y'all are moving forward on that path, you know. And so when you feel like you're at that point, I think you should do it and, just see where it goes. I dated a man with kids and I love everything about his kids and did my hardest to invest in my dynamic in the relationship. Turns out he was cheating on me with his child's mother and that hurt me. I'm really sorry to hear that. See, that was the other thing. I also agreed where Des was saying that you want to kind of see what's going on and how the environment is like. I agree with that too because like a lot of people don't want to date people with kids because they think that people who have kids already are still involved with the biological mother or father. And that's not always the case. But for people who have that toxic back and forth cycle, as we called it earlier, the ripple effect, they give those of us who don't behave in that manner a really bad name. Like, don't get me wrong. When I was in the relationship, I was in the relationship. Bless you. But when I finally decided to be done, I meant what I said, And so I was never one of those yo-yoing type of people once I got to that point. When I love hard. I put my whole self into it. But when I finally decide that enough is enough, that's it. And so there are some people that strictly co-parent, and that's it. That's it. Like, period. End of the sentence. We're not considering nothing. That's it. The past is the past. We just share this beautiful child that we need to pour into and take care of. And so it's important to see and pay attention to what's going on when you're dating somebody with a kid so you can really know what's going on. Like, how involved they are, or how removed she is. Who does she live with? If they living together, go on and find somebody else to talk to because they're not finished. Even if they are separated and not doing anything, and this horrible economy has them staying together, that need of each other right now is something that I'm not going to compete with, in my opinion. And I wouldn't tell you to compete with that. But if they're separated, they don't live together, they strictly co-parenting, and you're not seeing signs of things that don't make sense, we know how to put two and two together. If they can only talk to you when they're at work and they don't never talk to you in the evening, 9 times out of 10, it's because they're living with somebody that they date. 9 times out of 10, it's the baby mama, baby daddy. They be lying. So that exists. I'm not lying. I'm not going to say that sort of dynamic exists. But for me, like I stated, when I was done, it was done. There was none of that going on. And so you could just build your bond, and the oil's right there. You can build your bond, and it takes time and it's a unique sort of relationship, but that love will still be there. And honestly, it, to me, at least in my experience with dating my husband before we got married, it really built more of a family dynamic between us early on. Like, my mother-in-law and I built a really good relationship prior to me getting married to Des. She absolutely loved Josiah. She already wanted grandkids. So when she met Josiah, that was her grandbaby instantly. And so I say that to say, like, it's different. Like, the cons that Des was naming, that's very real. I know some of y'all might be watching like, well, dang, girl, y'all ain't convincing us at all. But it's the reality of it. Like, for the things that are not so great, there's some really good positive moments too. And you fall in love with a child, you fall in love with the family, you get extra support on both sides. And there's just like a level of appreciation that you end up having for each other because you get to see them like beyond just like surface level stuff. It is a different level of sacrifice. And I also think that when you do find your person, you appreciate them. Being a person that had a failed relationship and coming into a new relationship where, it went right and there was trust and there was treating each other the way that you're supposed to treat each other when you say you love someone, made me appreciate my husband more. And although my husband didn't have baggage as far as being other children or whatever. He had other types of baggage. And he also had been in previous relationships where he wasn't appreciated, where he wasn't valued, where he was not happy or whatever have you. So having someone that did make him feel those things was really nice for him. So it's like, I don't know, y'all. Like, I'm not here to convince you to do what I'm doing. I'm just telling you that it is a lot. Blended families are a lot. You know, my mom and dad, they were married for 20 years. And my mom and him got divorced when I was 16 years old. And then my mom passed away. The same year, a little bit before my mom passed away, my stepmom and my dad got married. And so, like, I dealt with being in a blended family at the later part of my growing up, you know, the last 2 years before I was an adult. And that was interesting, you know. It was great to have, it was great to have a bonus mom, if you will, after losing my mom, but it was an adjustment. And it was adjustment for her because she had her own kids and their dads. And, my dad had stepped in as a stepfather to her kids. And now she, for the first time, was really having to step in as an active mother to me because, again, when we were talking about custodial arrangements, prior to my mom's death, she was my custodial parent. Now, my dad was very active, but he did not live with my mom once they got separated. So I bring that up to say, like, the dynamics are different. So, I don't know what waves I caused in their marriage, but I will say I'm sure that was an adjustment to have to add space for a fourth daughter when you had three of your own and make that adjustment for her husband. So I say all that to say, like, blended families are beautiful. There's beautiful things that birth out of those, but it is definitely, a challenge. He didn't want to show me his phone because I was going to see messages between his kids' mom. Should I have my suspicions or see how this continues? Desmond, what you think? You need to read it again?
No, I heard you. I don't know, honestly. That's a giant trust factor. I mean, if there's nothing going on 9 times out of 10, folks say, well, if nothing to hide, blah, 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 blah. But if you haven't had a chance to meet her and you don't understand their parenting dynamic or anything else, who knows what's in them text messages? So I don't know. That's one of them things where you have to really trust your instinct because if you say you believe it and something goes wrong and pops back up and you can't let it go, you're gonna carry that until you get the answer or you don't get the answer and it upsets you enough to where you're like, okay, I'm ready to leave. This is disrespectful. So I can't answer for you. I can say gauge your trust level. And if it's something that continues to bother, just ask. And if you can't get that answer, then you at least have that and it's your decision on what you decide to do from there.
All right. Well, licensed nail tech, I hope you heard that. I would be suspicious as well. I agree with Miss Bennett. Yeah, I haven't met her, but I feel like something going on. Okay, so your intuition.
You feel that way?
She said, "Thank you." I heard that. What she
feel that way? That means you're never gonna not feel that way until you get the answer.
To me, it's strange to say I don't want you to see my phone. Like, if he don't let you see the phone in general, that's one thing. But if it's I don't want you to see my phone because you might see something between what we're texting, that's suspicious as hell. Like, transparently, I would show my husband anything that I'm texting my son's dad because there's absolutely nothing to hide, nothing going on there. So for me, it's like, and I've always been that way, like open, honest, whatever is going on, because there's nothing to hide. There's nothing going on there. So what is there? There's no need for a secret, in my opinion. There's never been anything where I felt like, oh, well, I don't need to show my husband this. Like, no, this is my husband, and I know you're not married, but if you're in a serious relationship, like, this is my girlfriend, so I don't have any secrets with my girlfriend. What?
I'm trying to tell them.
No, you're not, because this is not for kids. Bye. Yeah, geez. You knew that before you walked over here.
Josiah, sit on before.
I'm going to get you your own YouTube channel one day when you older.
Yay.
You can talk on your own channel, but not on this one.
I doubt that's ever gonna happen.
Oh, I didn't think they're suspicious on my end as well, and I ignored them. I just thought they had a great relationship, and that's why they communicated frequently. But my suspicions were right, unfortunately. Yeah, and so I don't know. I can't say how often someone should communicate with their co-parents because that dynamic is different. But I will say, like, necessary is the way I define it. I don't have that much frequent communication, and communication increases when we're trying to arrange something around our kid. Other than that, I have nothing to share. Um, I don't do active updates and things like that because you have to be an active parent to get active updates. So I say that to say, respectfully, there's not much communicating to go on unless it's like, oh, it's Christmas break. Would you like to hang out? Have Josiah come visit for a few days. Yes. What time? Okay, we'll pick you up. We'll see there. It's very just cut and dry. It's not like, I'm life updating you and we're best friends and we talk on a frequent basis. Like my husband is my best friend. And when I was single, I didn't have no male best friends. Okay. I had one, my friend Aaron. And Aaron is, been college friends. We went to college together with my college friend group. But for the most part, y'all get what I'm trying to say. I didn't have no male companions in which I'm telling, daily updates to, unless I was trying to be with them. You know what I'm saying? And so it's inappropriate. If it's anything that's not about the children, it's inappropriate. I'm not sending you're not sending your ex, and we just gonna say ex. It don't have to be baby mother. It's ex. You're not sending your ex memes, liking their stuff on Instagram every time they post something, in their comments, saying little inside jokes with each other. Like that's disrespectful. That don't have nothing to do with the kids. Nothing to do with the kids. Now, if y'all have like a joke that runs between you and the child, maybe, but it's like it's just about the child. Oh, such and such's birthday is coming up. Did you want to do this together at this Chuck E. Cheese over here, at this skating rink over here? Want to go in on this? Does this date work for you? Like coordination, project management around the kid. Like that's it. It's not anything else. It ain't no reminiscing. It ain't none of that. It might be some arguing if there's some disagreement about paying for something or, the cost for something that pertains to the kid, but nothing that has nothing else to do with anything else because that doesn't really relate to the child. So, I elaborated. I hope you understand, you figure it out. I say trust your gut. A narcissist will try to make you feel like you're crazy and make you feel like you are, stupid for seeing what's right in front of you. And he'll have you believing it. And you sitting here thinking that, oh man, this crazy. And then, whole time they doing they dirt and they know that they sloppy with it. So I say all that to say, just pay attention. If you're not ready to leave yet, just keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open.
I can't say I completely agree with you on the texting thing.
The texting thing?
Yeah, I'm not on the
Which
same page.
which part
as
of the texting?
any of it.
They shouldn't be texting at all?
No, I don't. No, I'm completely opposite. You can be friends with somebody you date if y'all know how to keep boundaries.
Nah.
Yeah, but
I don't think so.
And here's the thing: most people don't know how to be adults when they get done dating. And
I guess I don't. I guess I'm childish.
A lot of people.
I was called childish earlier by one of the gentlemen in my comments, so yeah, I guess I'm childish.
Listen, if you can't, as an adult, and I wish people would just be honest with themselves. If you cannot, as an adult, find a way to clear out whatever is done in order to keep a healthy relationship,
the wings and stuff.
I already pulled them out.
Do you want me to make his plate?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
If you cannot,
tell me what you want,
and you have zero desire to find a way to be cordial with somebody you dated solely because you feel like you're not supposed to, that's a personal deal. I feel like a lot of adults get to the point of, well, because we weren't actual friends before we started dating, we can't be friends afterwards. And that's one of them things where if you can't be friends with people you date, you're running into a completely different issue. So, I mean, my philosophy is different. A lot of folks feel the way Yosha feels, where it's like, no, you shouldn't be friends with somebody you used to date. But it's like, were you friends beforehand? And do you know? I guess that's the question: is do you ever desire to be friends with people you date, like on a genuine level, or are you just becoming friends to get to know them so y'all can date?
Come in here. I'm not trying to get on.
Tomato, walk,
There is no block.
lettuce,
Tomato, and onion.
lettuce, tomato, onion,
Gotcha,
pickle,
go sit down.
onion. Salsa.
You want green salsa?
No, regular.
Wow, Yosha, you have a lot of people leaving live.
Huh?
Nothing.
Did you say something?
Yeah, it's alright though.
What's up?
Nah, some folks left alive. That's all.
Oh,
I'll chop that if you want to come back so you can finish talking on your next topic.
okay. And the fries. Josiah said he just wants nachos now.
Okay.
All right. All right, we're gonna move on to the topic of DNA testing. So DNA testing, should it be mandatory? I think making it mandatory would be a very good way to do a streamlined process that would avoid difficult conversations, and hurt feelings and ending of relationships, honestly, because okay, let me step back. I feel like when you're dating people, you should have real conversations. Whether you are, looking to date for a long-term relationship, preparing for marriage, or somewhere in between, even hooking up, you should be trying to understand what type of people you're dealing with, because anytime you lay down and you are able to conceive, there is a chance that there could result in a pregnancy. So there's also a chance you can get an STD as well. So these are conversations that should come up, in my opinion. So when it comes to DNA testing and things like that, I feel like while it's not required, that should be something you talk about prior to even getting to a point where someone is pregnant. Now, realistically, we know that these conversations do not happen with everybody, but I think that would avoid a lot of hurt feelings and misunderstandings. The whole thing is, if you have these conversations before you get in a situation, you already know that the guy in your life is going to want that from you if it happens before y'all get married. If it happens during y'all's marriage, if it happens when y'all don't know each other. But if you never have that conversation, you've been in a serious relationship. And again, my point of view when talking through this was for serious relationships. I did make a call to any sort of friends with benefits, casual dating, oops babies. Obviously, you need to go get a DNA test. You should know regardless. Anytime a man asks, he should be given that regardless, because whether or not you have something to hide, he deserves the right to know. If for some reason you're not sure, you need to know, because you can't sit here and expect somebody who is not that child's father to stand up and take care of your kid because you didn't pay attention to who you were sleeping with. That person who's the biological father should be held accountable. Women should be accountable and men should be accountable for their actions, right? But if you've never had that conversation, you're dealing with a serious relationship where you don't cheat on each other, y'all are faithful, it's just the two of you. My whole point was just saying that if you bring that up during pregnancy and you say it in an accusatory manner, that woman's feelings is going to be hurt, because she's going to feel like, well, where is this coming from? I've only been with you for the last 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 2 years. I'm only dealing with you. There's no way that this would be no one else's baby. I'm going to give you the test, but now I'm looking at you funny because I feel like why did you need one? And so, that was my whole point of view that I'm arguing. Now, I understand that there are some situations where women are sleeping with multiple people and they don't know who the child's father may be. They're not tracking their cycle. They don't know when they ovulate. It's an oops mistake. And you slept with 3 people that week. I understand people that are like that too. And in those situations, absolutely, you do need to DNA test because that's not fair to that guy or to any of them to not know. The man deserves to know regardless. In the comment section of the video, by the way, if you're on the live stream, if you open up the description box, you'll see the videos that kind of cause tonight's topics. So this is the one about DNA testing. In the comments, I'm responding to people that are saying how they feel. There are people that are opening up, sharing their specific situations, like, yeah, like this happened to me and it really hurt my feelings. Another person said something along the lines of, I would definitely give the test, but then I would put him on child support. And I just said, my responses said things like, be prepared for the results, sir. I understand, meaning I understand from the female's perspective of feeling hurt behind that request. But I also understood everybody saying the man deserves a DNA test because he does, regardless. But, people are arguing because they felt like I was trying to say that, like, there should be a consequence or, the men should not be asking or whatever like that. And it's like, I'm not saying there should be a consequence. What I was saying is once you get those results and it's confirmed, again, we're talking about when it is the baby daddy. We're not talking about Maury. We're not talking about the people sleeping around. My point of view is specifically for a person that had been dealing with their baby daddy and that's it. Okay? So my whole thing was when the man gets the DNA test, be ready. Be ready to be accountable. Be ready to step up and be an active parent, financially responsible for your child, XYZ. A lot of times men pull that card when they are hoping that it's not. I know that sounds crazy, but there are some men that do not want to be a parent. So it's like, dang, I'm really hoping that this isn't my baby because I don't want to have to be here and take care of the baby. I was just having fun. I wasn't trying. You see what I'm saying? So it comes off like, if you're accusing me, is this either you're accusing me because somebody from your family done got in your ear, or you are asking for this testing because that's a reflection of how you viewed our relationship. I've never cheated on you. This is definitely your baby, 100%. But if you're asking me for this test because you think I've been sleeping around on you, are you sleeping around on me? Like when a woman is pregnant, she is emotional. She's processing this pregnancy. Her body's doing a whole bunch of things. Things are changing within her. It's a lot. So now if you come in there questioning her, and I'm not saying that if you're going to be disrespectful, but sometimes it can come off disrespectful. Like, I'm not going to do anything unless I get the DNA test. So now it's like you got your baby daddy sitting in here in your ear saying that he's basically giving you an ultimate. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, depending on how the adults handle the situation, it could cause turmoil in the relationship. It can make the woman react and start being petty. Okay, well, now that you have your test, I'm going to go ahead and put you on child support. Something she might have not even been thinking of doing before.
Here's the problem with that, though. You being emotional and being pregnant does not mean that I don't get to ask you any questions and expect a mature response for a mature situation amongst 2 adults.
Okay.
You don't get to be overly emotional just because you're pregnant and decide, well, I'm going to do something irrational simply because he asked for something that I didn't like. Because now you're sending a relationship that he has to do what I like, but if he doesn't, I'm going to use this kid against him. You're already starting on a bad foot.
But do you not think you're starting on a bad foot by questioning your girlfriend or your wife's fidelity in the middle of the pregnancy?
Not for me to question your fidelity.
But that's how it comes off.
Yeah, no, that's the way it comes off to you because you're asking in the question he thinks I'm a cheater, and that's not what I'm saying.
But that's how it comes off.
No, it doesn't.
And that's why, someone, even Lisa says she agreed. But that's what I'm saying. If you're dealing with somebody who is cheating, you want a DNA test because you don't know if they've been faithful to you. But you're not dealing with somebody who cheated.
I want to make sure all with no doubt we are good. Ergo, when it's time for me to make decisions, You can't just say this is my baby. No, it's not. This is our baby, and we have the paper to prove it. So now we're going to be on the even playing field as parent. You're not going to pull that. Well, I did ABC card. We're even. See, the way I'm using it is not to make sure you didn't cheat. I want you to know that I'm an active father, I'm an active parent, and you will not pull that mama card on me when you feel like you're not getting your way. You're not going to use this kid as a pawn in the way we're going to do things. You're going to be a mature adult just like I am, and we're going to make this work. What you're not going to do is turn around and keep pulling them cards and thinking, oh, well, I got the upper hand because I'm his wife. That's not the way that works, G.
Okay. She says, I think I would not mind a DNA test. True. I think child support should be for those who don't help out with the court. Then the DNA is okay to ask if it's not your girlfriend, wife, or if you think that they are cheating. I think they should be able to ask regardless. And I think that if it was a part of the pregnancy process, it could avoid a lot of the back and forth and the drama. But I was never saying I don't think it should be mandatory with the pregnancy process. I think that would be efficient. What I don't think is right is for someone to request a DNA test to someone in the middle of their pregnancy and it had never been discussed before. It may come off a certain way because I'm trying to understand both sides, but I guess I'm gonna go ahead and admit I'm slightly biased from the woman's perspective that I'm pushing, because in my situation, I knew who my child's father was. There was absolutely no way that it wouldn't be his baby. So I can absolutely give you a DNA test. No problem. But it's like, I never cheated on the man. So to be asked for one, it would be like a slap in the face. And I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to indulge into that conversation. But there's content about that all over this channel from years ago. If you care that much to go even further about baby daddies. In fact, it's a whole playlist. I'll put it in the description box and save the video. So I bring that up because it's like, that's the perspective I'm seeing it from. But I'm also seeing it from the perspective of that man wanting to make sure he covers himself, because he can get stuck behind taking care of a child that's not his. He can get stuck behind child support if she gets mad and decides to put him on it and keep the baby away. So if he legitimizes his child up front, it protects his relationship with the child in a way, because there's still extra steps, right? He would still have to go for custody. He would still have to make the arrangements outside of that. But the DNA test helps aid in that process. To me, a DNA test is really mutually beneficial, because if for some reason they split and now the parenting goes lopsided because, people are mad around their relationship and not thinking about what's best for the child, you can then file for child support because you have that DNA test. And so that DNA test is going to basically be automatic granted child support because you have absolute proof that that's the baby. In my personal situation, I did not DNA test at the time when my son was born because my son's dad was gone. He was in jail. And so it was not possible to DNA test. Long story short, when I served my son's father to put him on child support, it was extremely difficult because, number one, no stable address, hard to serve somebody who's not having a stable address. Number two, no DNA test. So it took almost 2 years to get that in place because we did not have a DNA test. So when the whole DNA test thing, I'm not against them because having that is security for you and that baby. But what I'm against is how things are said and how it came off from the men that are arguing is that I need one, and if she don't give me one, she got something to hide. No, the hell I don't. It's not that I have something to hide. I'm offended because of how you're asking me. You have something to hide. I need to know. Don't you come at me like that after you got me pregnant and I'm throwing up and I got morning sickness and I'm being inconvenienced every single day with these cravings and these kicks and can't sleep and got to pee every 10 minutes with your big head ass baby in my stomach. How dare you? That's the way I view it in that moment. I'm not saying that, you don't get a DNA, you shouldn't get a DNA test. Honestly, it benefits me for you to have one. But this is a conversation that should be had before I got pregnant. Don't come at me with an accusation, I'm sorry, as if I cheated on you. that was my point of view when saying that. My point of view is not to say that the woman should be petty. My point of view is not to say that the women shouldn't give the child support. Give the DNA test. None of that. I was just trying to open up the eyes beyond y'all thinking about, well, when this one, if we don't work out, like, because my husband, he and I talked about this morning, and he was like, men are thinking to cover themselves for the future. What if y'all don't work out XYZ? I'm not thinking about that. We carrying a baby. I'm thinking we finna be together. You feel me? So I'm not worried about no child support right now. I wouldn't think about that. I'm not thinking about us not working out. We finna have a baby. I'm thinking about us as a damn family. So you coming out here with these other things. I mean, but how is it short-sightedness if you really think you're gonna be together?
Hey, I'm predicting the future that I can't predict.
And you're predicting the future because you're trying to get a DNA test for what future that might not work out.
I'm predicting the future. They're saying that it might not work out. I need to understand, just like I told you this morning, I need to understand that when this stuff goes in the paperwork, first of all, one, I need this DNA test to know that I should be paying child support. But two, if I don't have that, I also understand child support don't equal visitation.
That's
so
true.
As a man, I have to put these steps in place that other men have not. Ergo, should this go wrong, should you decide on an emotional whim that you want to do this, I'm not playing behind the 8 ball. I'm not playing behind the 8 ball. I'm ahead of the game already because I understand how to take certain steps. Women are normally fine with that because in the court system, it's going to lean in y'all favor when it comes to stuff with child support, custody, all that stuff. It leans in your favor. So imagine knowing you're behind the 8 ball and now having to play catch up. And you may be playing catch up with less resources. It's not always to be offensive. It's more so to make sure that, like you said, should anything go wrong, I'm making sure I'm prepared because I'm not going to have the same luxury, the same leeway, the same grace as you. It's not going to go the same way. 9 times out of 10, how many moms you think you know who actually get put on child support? Make better money. And if the father was actually granted custody, she'd be paying child support. How often do you think that's realistic?
I don't know nobody.
How many dads you think get caught behind the 8 ball when it's time to get put on child support and you see them scrambling trying to get their life together?
Most of the time.
And then when you see it's time to pay child support, they scrambling.
See, and I feel a way about that too, because why are you struggling so bad to provide when it's just you? Before even getting put on child support.
When I'm saying they're scrambling behind,
they be scrambling and struggling, but they don't, and it's just them.
Listen, you're not listening, because that's not what I was about to say.
I know, but I just thought about it because you said it
that way because you thinking about it as how it could benefit you. I'm not saying that. Speaking as a guy, when it's time to pull resources, you can't pull resources in the same way women do when it comes
to the government don't have the WIC and the stamps and the other stuff. They don't look out for y'all in the way that they do with us. And if you don't have the kid, you're not gonna get the benefit.
You're not giving what can work for you. You're giving what the government tells you to pay. So it's not like, oh well, yeah, I know I make $2,000 a month. I can give X. It's you make $2,000 a month, but the government feels like you should pay this. They don't factor in that you have other bills. They don't factor in that you may not get overtime. They don't factor in none of that stuff. They say, here's your amount, pay it. So now, unlike the mom you have, you got to figure out how to scramble and get that money to keep yourself out of jail.
Why are you not at the table eating?
You got to scramble and figure out how to get that money to keep yourself out of jail. Keeping yourself out of jail to make sure you have a job. Making sure you have a job, making sure you don't get your license suspended. What I'm saying is when women think about that stuff, you're only thinking from the female perspective. You don't think about the guy's perspective because that's not an inconvenience that you may face when it's time to start figuring out what's going to happen with child support. You're also not going to have to worry about if you get granted custody. If you're giving child support, but he never gets to see that kid, now he has to trust that the mother of his kid is going to paint him in the right light to his kid, ergo to not make his kid an enemy against him. You have to think about that.
Being a female and working in child welfare, I completely understand the man's side and their perspective. If I wasn't working in child welfare, then I can understand the female's perspective as well. And then my kid's father complains about sending my children money when he spends 0% of the time with them. Well, like, what are you doing with your time? And see, that's the thing. Like, when you're not the custodial parent, and let's say you have a non-custodial parent, no child support. All you're asking for is for them to do what they can and to give time as they can. That's what I was piggybacking off of his comment, but his comment was about something different. But I'll respond with my POV based on what licensed nail tech said. So you're not getting none. I told you to stop doing that.
You said you didn't want them.
Sit down and eat that whole plate of food and then get ready to go to bed. Children. What I was saying is, for those who are not on child support and you're not the custodial parent, it is really like confusing to me as well when I hear excuses all the time when you are basically like a single person, not a single dad, but like a single person. You don't take care of your child, but you never have time for your child and you don't, help out consistently.
Are you asking what's going on in their personal life, or do you care?
All the time, though?
Are you asking what's going on in personal life, or do you care?
I don't.
So you going in and asking is already right. So let me again from the male perspective. You're already coming in with not caring.
What does that have to do with the child? From the custodial parent's perspective, Des, I do not care, because if I'm sick, if I have COVID, if I have the flu, if I get fired, if anything happens to me, I still got to be a mom at the end of the day. They don't care about me. So I've gone to a point where I care about my child. So it's like, yes, yes, you might have stuff going on, but I do too. And I'm still taking care of this child every day. So I don't want to hear your excuses every time.
But guess who gave you the child? When I'm sure you could have 50-50 without it.
50-50 without it.
You could have had
no, but we're talking about you could, but some people don't give the 50-50 option.
Hear me from a guy's perspective.
Okay.
It's not that they don't want it.
Okay, so you can just provide it's not fair.
And what guys will do based on the way women act is, if you're only going that he can do based on what you want to stick to what the government gave, he's gonna do the same thing. You can't say you don't want to stick, you only want to stick to what the government gave when it benefits you. You can't say you want to pull the child support and visitation card when you go to court, and now that you outside of court and it no longer fits your means, now you have an issue with it. You want to blow his phone up and say he ain't this and that. You got what you wanted. You got the visitation you wanted. You got the child support you wanted. You got what the government said you wanted to have. So what he's saying is, I'm fulfilling my obligation that you decided to go to the government and said you wanted. So now you still want to complain when you got blessed with what you asked for. Why are you still opening your mouth and complaining? You got what you wanted. So now you want to say he's a deadbeat, but he's not a deadbeat. He's following the standard that you set by taking your behind in that courthouse and demanding that they give you an outline for the way you're supposed to raise this kid.
But for what? So what about the ones who don't? They're not on child support. That's the topic.
If you decide you want to be lazy, did you not see that before you decide to do that? Because these signs are normally showing. Dudes who normally don't want kids will show you why they do not want kids beforehand. But if only thing you want to see is lust and what y'all do in that bedroom, no, you don't care about the other product that comes afterwards. Most dudes who are not responsible and don't want kids will show you why they don't have kids and don't want to date women who have kids, don't want to hear the idea of having kids until they are ready. Because guys who are not ready to raise kids will tell you why they are not ready to raise kids. They're not going to want to go in here and into a relationship with kids when they know they're not done running the streets and doing their dirt. Most of them will settle reluctantly when they see that they have a kid and they really want to be a better father. But if you're saying beforehand, they will normally show you why they do not want to have kids. It is up to you to listen and see it. Now, if you're picking wrong and you consistently picking wrong, then at that point, it's not just them. Part of it is you and your decision making. But if you're doing it because the sex is better than what you see on the other side, that's on you.
What does you do need to pick wisely, but what does that have to do with
what I'm saying is
why the man is not helping with the kids? And you're not on child support And you don't. We trying to work it out as individuals, and you're not doing anything.
I will say this:
You're trying to work out co-parenting as individuals. Why are you trying to make excuses for these men? Why are they not helping out? That's it.
Perspective. I need you to listen. Quit trying to be a mama. Quit trying to be a mama right now and be a listening woman.
Oh. Who is he talking to?
Be a listening woman right now. What I'm saying is the guys you see who have the qualities that may not be as attractive outside of what you think of the lust and the way it looks in pictures, some of those guys are genuine guys who want to have kids. Some of these dudes who have their pick of women are not worried about it at that moment because you have your pick of women. Why am I settling down with you when I got 7 different chicks for the week? Why does that matter? Why does that matter? But if you're saying that's who you going after picking and that's who you laying down and laying with, and then y'all popping up and having a kid, why are you confused if you were just in the rotation? His responsibility is not you. His responsibility is his personal satisfaction. So at what point do you take your lust out and you put in your eyes and say, okay, if I'm looking to date to marry, where does he truly fit in? Your decision making is what you have to hold yourself accountable by. Because 9 times out of 10, these guys who you picking who already have shown you they don't want it are the reason why they're not turning around and taking care of their kids later. You see what I'm saying? They've already shown you they're not ready to be responsible guys as far as a family function. But you thinking you're going to turn around and just because you're pregnant, it's going to flip the situation. That's not going to happen. Because that's not your decision on when it clicks in their brain to flip that situation. But what I can say is if they decide to flip that situation, they're truly trying, and you taking digs at them, you will get less out of them than what you truly believe you deserve. Because you have to control your mouth in the way that you want him to respect you in front of his kid too. If you're saying it's okay for you to be disrespectful because he's not meeting your standards as a parent, no, he's not going to give you that because you're not even respecting him as a person. And not only are you not doing that, but you're doing it in front of the kid. So now the kid is coming up with this idea of this is what this person truly is because my mama said so, not because I've had a chance to figure it out for myself. He should want to take care of his kid, but if you're saying you're picking people who don't want kids, but they like what you're saying, which would cause the need for the DNA test in the first place, that's a problem. For guys who truly do not want kids and never had that intention, that is why that is happening.
So licensed nail tech said, okay, so I'm getting, because he already showed he wasn't ready before kids, don't expect him to show up after the kids.
Exactly.
So, okay, he said exactly. Well, alrighty then. So Des, do you think that DNA tests should be mandatory? Like a mandatory process, a mandatory process within the pregnancy.
Here's the only problem you run into with making it mandatory. That you're assuming that both parents are going to be in the delivery room when you're there.
Right. Because I just told y'all that was not the case for me.
That's what I'm saying. How do you guarantee that both parents are there? Yes, you can make it mandatory, but at what point do you make it mandatory so they have to come in? And at what point do you do it where, well, if you don't come in, we issue a warrant for your arrest? The problem with that is, let's say you issue a warrant for my arrest and you mess up my life and I'm not even your kid's dad. Now what? You done got me arrested. I could have lost my job. I'm losing my livelihood because you done sat up here and chose wrong and you ain't even sure who you was with.
Yeah.
So it's got to be thought out a little bit more. Yes, it can be mandatory, but you have to make it mandatory to where it's not just on the dad who may or may not show up to possibly put him in the same situations if he didn't pay child support.
Right. That's a good point.
So it's got to be thought out. I believe it should happen. But again, it's one of those things where it has to be thought out over time. It can't be a knee-jerk reaction from the jump. Because once you get it wrong a couple times, people will lose faith in the system and they won't want to do it at all. And you run into the same problem.
Okay.
So I think it should be done, but you got to take time to figure out how to do it correctly. And it can't just be to the detriment of one person in that situation if they don't show up.
Okay. So I'm going to court soon because I'm not going to be waiting for him to decide when to show up. I understand.
Sit up.
I understand. Um, I mean, they're required for certain processes, but I don't know. I do think that if somebody asks you for one, that you should give it to them though. I really do. Because it's not fair to somebody to have to go through that hurt of finding out later in life that someone is not their child after they've been there as their dad. Like that's heartbreaking. And I also feel like he does deserve to know so that he can act accordingly. You know, my dad told me a long time ago when I was young, and engaged the first time, right? He told me like if you have a baby, it's different for women. And I do remember when I was pregnant because I was still living with my dad. I was a senior in college when I got pregnant. And I moved back in with my dad. And my dad was telling me, for men it's different. Sometimes it doesn't click for them that they're a dad until they actually see the baby and hold the baby and stuff like that. And so sometimes, that DNA test may make it to where it's real for them because you're the one carrying the baby. You can feel the kicks and you're going to the appointments and you have the special dietary restrictions or whatever comes with that. But that dad doesn't really get to feel it the way you do. Unless you put the hand on the belly and the baby kicks when the dad touches or something, but you don't really get a lot of that interaction until the baby is born, and so it's different for them. And I think, having that DNA test come, because you can do DNA testing during the pregnancy now, I believe. So having that DNA come back can be like, make that dad get excited too in that moment during that pregnancy with you. But again, just talk about these things while you're dating. Like these are conversations you can have, you know. Obviously don't wait until y'all are in the heat of the moment to start talking about DNA tests or STDs or things like that. You should have the conversations before you get there. I don't know where this would fall in for casual dating because, casual dating is a little less deep in some ways. Like, but still, you should still be getting a freaking STD panel before you sleep with new partners. Like 100%, because you don't know what you're carrying from person to person. So that's where I'm not trying to make any judgments on people. The Bible says we're not supposed to judge others. Yes, the righteous should speak up. I understand that, but I'm not here to judge you. I'm not perfect. I have my sins, you have your sins. I am not God. I'm not here to judge anybody. But my point that I was going to say is this. Um Responsibility is important regardless of what stance you take on how you should deal with your sexual relationships. That you should not be irresponsible to a point where you can't keep up with what you're doing. That's not in the good of your health. So take care of that. That's probably what best, honestly, because it's not fair to the kids. Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, y'all. I don't know, but I enjoyed talking about these topics with y'all tonight. It's the food is about to be ready, and I am. Did you have anything you wanted to close out with?
Oh no, I enjoyed the conversation, and for everybody who came and stopped in, thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Well, what's for dinner? I made some rotel dip, and we made some wings, and we have some French fries. So it's gonna be like game day food. And then I gotta get some sleep after that because I plan on going to church again tomorrow. But I wanted to come and do this conversation with y'all. And I'm gonna start doing more co-ed conversations because I think it's really good to have the male perspective. And I want to start doing the advice videos again. Thanks, Lisa. And everybody, Happy New Year. This was my first live of 2023. So I'll start trying to come back on Wednesdays. But if not, I'm gonna just pop in. I'll try to schedule it, an hour or two in advance so you can see it on my community tab and then come through. If you're watching this after the fact, leave me comments. Let me know what you think. And if y'all have some other topics that you want me to cover next time, let me know. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining Licensed Nail Tech and Confident. I think this is my first time seeing you, so make sure you subscribe. If y'all did not subscribe, please do hit the subscribe button and check me out. I post videos all the time, so there's always new stuff coming. And I'm also typing in the community tab, so this is definitely an open dialogue. Cheese dip sounds so good. Yes. I don't know, but y'all have a great night, and I will be back with more updates. And if y'all got any topics, just let me know. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye. Miss Bennett, yes, good night, Sorg. And happy early Founders Day to you. What was I gonna say? If you want to send it to my email, you can, or you can send it to my Instagram on a DM. Just say that you are Miss Bennett from the live. Or you can email me if you want it, and just let me know, do you want me to respond directly to you? Do you want an anonymous Ask Yosha video? And that way I'll know what to how to help you. All right, y'all. Good night. And don't forget to like the live stream if you didn't already. Okay. Bye.